Good morning, everybody. We are live betting for breakfast, back for another Saturday. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner. Getting towards the end of the NBA playoffs, we have a ton to talk about. We're going to talk about that. We got some MLB baseball action. We got some USFL and some PGA golf. So we're going to take it all the way across the landscape of sports today. So very excited for this show. But before we get started, guys, listen, make sure you download the Sharp app. Tons of content on there for everything, educational stuff. You want to learn how to hedge your series bets for the NBA playoffs, your futures, go to the Sharp app, download the content. It's all right there in the educational resources. You want the top props for today, plus over 100 units, go download the Sharp app, get into Discord. The link is below. Get involved in the action. We only have a couple more weeks of winning in the NBA left, so make sure you get on board. But to make the Sharp app your number one resource for sports gambling this summer. We got a ton of stuff going on. They're in there, cashing on WNBA, you name it, they're in there. So be a part of the family and come join us. All the links that you need are in the description below. But let's get down to business today, Dave. Saturday, we're going to start with the main course, the NBA playoffs, the Celtics and the Miami Heat. The Heat came out, made a statement in game one. When the cat is away, the mice will play. Jimmy Butler, 41 points. Everybody was talking about how much of a dog he is. And then in game two, different type of dog, right? The Miami Heat lays down to the Celtics. And now we go back to Boston for game three. Boston, a big favorite here, Dave, minus 6.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
You know, I'm not wearing green for Boston. You know, I'm kind of wearing the money green again because last week we had another good week. Did tell you, hey, Boston was going to lay it on Milwaukee in Game 7. You just feel the ebbs and the flows of this team. And you're right, the big factor, we even talked about it, they were going to have a short rest coming off Game 7. So I wasn't too surprised in the outcome of Game 1. You know, the lack of Smart and Horford was actually, you know, the biggest factor. But I thought the lack of rest was too. And then you get into Game 2, and those guys coming off any loss just pummel the opponent in the next game, it feels like. I think their average margin of victory is somewhere in the 15-16 range. So now we roll it back to a new place, right? And we haven't seen the Heat play real well on the road this year until they finally took Game 6 in Philly. They struggled in Atlanta, splitting there, lost too early in Philadelphia. They're going to have a different mindset because Boston's coming. And when you see a line like that, Drums, I kind of lean towards the home team today. I do think Miami will play one of these games close, but I think the energy coming off Game 2, energy going back home, I think Miami's in a tough spot today.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I'm somebody who I have Celtics, win the title futures, kind of got late to the party on that one. But hey, I made sure I fixed myself a plate, right? I didn't get the big plus 1,200 numbers that people are throwing out there, but I'm in there. I got a reasonable ticket there. And I think that they're the best team, definitely left in the field. No surprise to me to see them bounce back. We talked about, Raheem Palmer over at the Action Network, formerly the Action Network, is moving on to a new project now, but has an excellent article with them where he broke down, listen, these teams coming off those Game 7s only win like 39% of the time in those Game 1s. It's tough. And Boston had a tough travel spot there. And then you factor in, hey, they're missing Horford, they're missing Smart, Defensive Player of the Year, right? Makes sense that they don't win that Game 1. So what I did was, hey, I waited before I fired on the series price. Waited for that Game 1 loss because we felt like that was a likely outcome. And then I fired on Boston. I think I got them at plus 130 to win the series. So very excited about that number. And, coming back to Boston again, the key here is the number. It's minus 6.5. It's a big number. But I feel like in these playoff games, Dave, we've seen these teams win with margin in those spots. Like, it's very rare that, like, a lot of these games are not close. They're not down to the last bucket. I expected things to tighten up now that we're in the semifinals, but we haven't seen that so far.
No, I mean, you got a little bit last night, but still Golden State won by margin, right? Even though they
won by 9, covered the spread.
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, it's not, in a way, you just got to bet, who you think's going to win that game lately. The number hasn't been a factor. So I'm with you. I feel pretty confident in Boston. I think Boston is the best team left in these NBA playoffs. Frankly, I'm getting a little disgusted with this night stuff that Golden State does, run around, putting up three. Like,
I know. RJ's just a hateable team. Like, I used to like them. Like when they had Durant and they were like the dream team or whatever, like I kind of like that. Like I was like, hey, you know what? We got great players playing. It's funny because I hear people talk about it and they're almost the opposite. Like they're like, I used to hate Golden State because they had Durant and they had all these players. And you know, now I like them. And I'm like, you like them now? Like that's kind of crazy. Like I just think and I don't like Dallas either. So to me, it's kind of like a, you know, but I'd much rather see Luka win that series, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Some of it might be because I've underestimated Golden State. Now, I think they caught some luck along the way, but, you know, hey, they're winning. Our guy, Arroyo, checking in. My man, listen, I appreciate you, brother. Big MMA card, man. Got my bets on the UFC in the Sharp app. So members will get those picks. Not going to talk about that today. We got a lot of other action going on. But Arroyo, listen, I saw your picks, man, and I think we're definitely on the same page with some of them. So we're going to catch some money tonight for sure. But getting back to the hardwood, Dave, in this series, the money's still coming in on Boston. I think I saw like 75% of the handle on Boston at that -6.5. It's not a number that I would shy away from. Prop-wise, I talked about on BetMGM tonight before Game 2. The guy that I would target the most is Bam. I think Bam has really kind of fell off ever since Joel Embiid came back in the Philadelphia series. He hasn't been the same. He started that series off pretty hot, looking good, and then he's really struggled. And one of the things I wrote about coming into the series was the fact that Boston does have multiple bigs that they can kind of throw at him. Now that Horford's back, they can kind of wear him down. So I don't think it's something that's going to get better for Bam as the series goes on. I cashed in the under 23.5, points and rebounds on Bam, and then they moved it down to 22.5 for today's game. I would still go under that. I think his point total is at 13.5. That might be a look to the under as well. But I just think that's the one player from a prop perspective that I would probably be looking to fade.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. They just Bam doesn't have a lot of space anymore, right? Didn't that happen a lot in the Philadelphia series too? It's like as soon as Joe came back. So yeah, I'm with you. As far as the prop market goes, I mean, I still think there's some live money in Tatum. Anytime you can, play a guy that they're going to have to lean on to put up 25, 30 plus shots. And especially if Miami's going to play zone at times, I'm still partial to anything that Tatum has out there points wise. I think it's 27, 28. So it's pretty high, but that's where I lean. But I still, this one's going to be interesting because I do think it'll tell the tale for the rest of the series. Even if Boston wins with a little margin today, I got to see how the Heat adjust and how they fight.
Yeah. And if, do they fight? Right. Which way do they fight? Right. Are they going to be fighting each other? Are they going to be, coming together and trying to make this a series? So you always have to worry about that with a volatile personality like Jimmy Butler, who has the reputation that he does. Seems like yesterday he was trying to fight the coach and the coach was ready to give him the 1-2 combo.
Yeah.
Spoelstra wasn't backing down, man.
No. And it's funny. And we all love Jimmy. But after game 1, I got all these people coming up to me. Man, miss Jimmy, man. Dog's been gone for 3 years, dude. But he's been gone for 3 years. Like, why? He already went to an NBA Finals.
And you know what? Like, a lot of people forget, man. Like, in that Game 7 against Toronto, he was 5 for 16, 1 for 6 from 3. Like, he was not playoff Jimmy. Like, he was playoff Jimmy, the playoff Jimmy that we know. Like, not this guy who puts up 41 points against half the Celtics team. So, Jimmy Butler to me is a great player, but he's not like an elite guy. Like we talk about Luka, we talk about like the other guy, Jason Tatum. Like he's not that, No. So, he's a rung below that, but definitely a very good player. And he's done good things with the Heat. He's won some playoff series. Didn't happen for him last year. Last year he was one and done, but he's back making another push, like he did in the bubble. So good for Jimmy. He had a nice run, but he'll have. We'll see. He can get back to recruiting probably this time next week. So that's good for him. But I do think the Celtics are the side here as far as the total. Before we move on, Dave, listen, these games have been going over, right? Everybody expects Heat, Boston defense going to be under. Totals are going over. Boston's out there just draining threes. Like they're like, we don't care, about your zone defense. We're going to kill you on the perimeter, and it's been working. But. The totals really haven't budged a ton. I think this one's up around 207, I want to say, or whatnot. I think that I would continue to play over. I mean, I don't know if it's almost like I'd have to wait to get burnt until I went under the total here. I don't think we're going to see. I think the way Boston has to win is by scoring and winning on the perimeter and shooting threes and being aggressive that way. So I don't think that's something that's going to change.
Yeah, and you raise a good point. Listen, the Heat have to win by a lower margin or lower score. 99-90 is what they beat the Sixers in Game 6, right?
Right.
I'm not so sure that they can do that versus this team, especially if Marcus Smart's hitting those threes and some of the other players, Pritchard.
Yeah. What are too strong on the wing? Like, you got Jaylen Brown. Like, he's been fantastic. You got, Tatum. I mean, struggled a little bit from the free throw line, but Brown's been good.
But Grant Williams, it's been crazy. So, yeah, I think I'd probably lean over too. Funny story. When we did talk last week, took the over in that Phoenix game, Game 7. Dude, they like 70 points at half.
Yeah.
Combined.
Yeah.
They scored when the game was by 40 in the fourth quarter, they ended up scoring like 70 combined team total points and went over.
I know. I'm still surprised. I mean, the Phoenix bailed out that way. I mean, it was just an awful performance. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but
they gave up.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing is like all you heard about all season was like, oh, we got to get Chris Paul a ring. Like, we got to get, and I love Chris Paul. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but does Chris Paul deserve a ring? Like, do we really need to try that hard to get him a ring? Like, hasn't he had enough opportunities at this point? Like, they won 64 games. Maybe I'm a little sour because I had the ticket them coming out of the West, but I don't think we have to try and get Chris Paul a ring anymore. I think he needs to do that himself.
Yeah, and I think he didn't try hard enough. Like, we'll just put it that way.
He's limping off. He gets these injuries, and it's like, you know what? Like, we talk about Embiid. Like, you sound ruthless, but really don't care about your injuries. Like, it's if you're injured every year, like then that's just what it is. You got to play through it, or that's who you are. You know what I mean? So these players write their own legacies, and really surprised how Chris Paul is going. So we'll see what Phoenix does in the offseason. They got a lot of things to work out with Ayton, and whether they're going to pay him, and he seems a little disgruntled, and they're going to have to kind of reshape that team a little bit, I feel like.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We'll just put it that way. I was a little more disappointed in Booker, to be honest with you. He's supposed to be
soft.
That alpha guy, right?
Yeah, not alpha.
Not alpha. Yeah.
No. Luka alpha.
Everybody's favorite. They were like, he should be in MVP voting.
All right.
We'll just
what I like about Luka, dude.
Yeah.
Is like,
you're not about Luka. You're not.
He does it with the YMCA body. Like, Luka doesn't even care, dude. Like, he's out there, like,
cooking.
Like, you could see him, like, on the court, like, playing pickup ball, and you'd be like, oh, dude, I'm not wild guard this dude. And then he step back three, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. He's a nut, dude. Luka's great, man.
He is. But I just wish he would stop whining to the refs. They all do, but he's just a little excessive there. Pull that back a little bit, and I think he would have even a bigger following.
Yeah, definitely do. But it's only going to get bigger and bigger as he continues to kind of step up. I'll tell you, advice for Golden State. I don't like Golden State, but my advice to them, get it done in 5 or 6. Like, do not go to Game 7 with Luka, or you are going to get sizzled for sure. That's the one thing we know about Luka Doncic. Game 7, bet the overs for Luka 100%, no matter who he's playing. But let's move on to MLB, Dave. I know you're doing a lot of good stuff over at Win Daily Sports, making a lot of people a lot of money. So let's get some people paid today on the diamond.
Yeah. So there's a few that I'm targeting. The first one you guys want to look at is the Toronto Blue Jays, Cincinnati Reds. Hunter Green pitched pretty much a no-hitter his last time out for the Reds, and the Reds somehow lost. They pulled him in the 8th. He was up to 117, 120 pitches. This is the exact reason we are hammering the Blue Jays today. They left that guy out there to get one thing done, and he still couldn't get it done. His arm almost fell off. He throws 100-plus miles an hour, and now you're going to ask him to come back after 5 days rest and try and pitch against this lineup. Hammer the Blue Jays' first 5 money line. Hammer the Blue Jays over 2.5 runs in the first 5 innings. I love both. Hunter Green on the year has let up like 11 home runs. He didn't let one up last week. He's going to let up a few today after that performance. So really focused on the Blue Jays. And then last, go Red Sox, fold game -155. I have a few reasons why, but we'll just put it this way. Red Sox are hot. Trevor Story, 4 home runs in the last 2 games. Chris Flexen lets up a ton of home runs. We saw the Phillies hit 3 off him. He's not very good. Lets the ball go out of the park. Let up 2 to Toronto last outing alone. Bichette got him. So I like the Red Sox say minus 155 full game.
Awesome. So Boston and the Blue Jays. I love the Blue Jays. Like, listen, I don't follow baseball a ton, so like I'm not the guy for like baseball bets or anything like that. But it's always a fun team, man. Like the Blue Jays are always fun. I was rooting for them down the stretch last year. They didn't get there, but always a fun team to watch, man. And I like it when it's you get a different team outside of the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and I mean the Rays, the way they're playing, they're kind of in the playoffs every year, it seems like. But, lots of good stuff with baseball, man. So it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a fun season. Probably end the same way for our Philadelphia Phillies, but that's just kind of like the way it goes.
Oh, yeah. With that manager, it'll end the same way.
Lots of heads are going to roll. Yeah. But listen, so let's pivot over to football. I want to talk about the USFL week entering the halfway point now. Going from week 5 to week 6, 10-week season, learning a lot week after week. Did pretty good again last week. And the main takeaway is, we're starting to see points now, right? Teams are starting to settle in on who their quarterbacks are. Some of the bad teams like Pittsburgh went out and got different quarterbacks, as free agents, brought them in. We saw them have success. They beat Houston. We were on top of that. We talked about that on the show last week. They win their first game outright behind Vad Lee from James Madison. So, all 4 games went over the total. These totals still opened up again this week in the mid to upper 30s. So I think there are some good spots for some overs on the board. And that starts with today with the Philadelphia Stars and the Tampa Bay Bandits. It's the first game going off early this afternoon. I think it's a 1:00 start. And the Philadelphia Stars, again, I got this at 38.5. It has moved up to like 40.5 now. We're seeing some 41s now. I would still play it every single game. We're on the Stars over last week. Every single game has been at least 40 points with this team. Their defense is awful. They lost last week 30-17 to the Birmingham Stallions in a game where they led. I think it was 17-13 or 14 at halftime. They were up at halftime. Birmingham changed quarterbacks, went back to Jamar Smith, who was the quarterback who started the first 3 weeks of the season. Alex Magoo was their starter originally for like the first half of week 1. He got injured. Jamar Smith came back. The offense clicked. Birmingham, obviously the best team in the league. They're 5-0. So anyway, they went back to the original starter when he got healthy and the offense was kind of sputtering, right? So that, they benched him last week. They got back to Jamar Smith. He comes out, lights up the Stars in a huge second half. Birmingham puts 30 on the board, wins 30-17, game flies way over the total. This week, they play the Tampa Bay Bandits, right? Todd Haley's group. And if we look by comparison to, the defense that is probably most comparable to the Philadelphia Stars, it's the Houston Gamblers. From a yardage perspective, from a points allowed perspective, those two defenses are clearly the worst in the USFL. When Tampa played Houston, 27-26, right? And they left some meat on the bone, right? So it was a game that was a 54-point total. Right now they play Philadelphia this week, just as bad as a defense. We know that Philadelphia can score points, so they're going to do some lifting as far as this total is concerned. But I have no doubt that both these teams are going to help push this over the total, even if it's in the 40. So I would play the Stars over, just continue to ride that over the 40. But there's a couple other overlooks that I like. I have another one for Sharp App members that got that. I have a couple sides. There's a couple numbers I'm waiting on that I'm going to be firing on. But overall, we're seeing the team settle down, Dave. The kicking, they went out and got new kickers.
Yep.
That was like the big deal. Like the big thing was they blamed the ball and they were like, oh, the chip inside the ball. They fixed that and the kickers are still shanking stuff all over the place, right? And so they went out and they got rid of those kickers. So now the kicking's a little more stable and the quarterback play is a little more stable. We saw the Generals, probably the second best team in the league, big upset win last week. They got rid of the quarterback rotation. They settled on DeAndre Johnson, paid huge dividends. Offense looked great against New Orleans, who had the number 1 defense in the league coming in. So
It did, but the defense looked even better. I mean, they held what's his name for like a 30% completion percentage.
Yep.
Stone, what's his name?
Sloter. Locked up
Sloter.
Sloter. Now he's banged up. And it's like,
and
that's kind of like the hardest part with that team going forward is you don't know how effective he's going to be because he's just kind of like trying to get to the finish line here. He's battling through a ton of injuries, but that was a game that surprised me. I was on the wrong end of that one. I had New Orleans, and the Generals' offense looked great against the defense that was pretty much eating everybody up all season. So they got out to an early lead on them. I thought, you know what? I don't know if you watched that game, Dave, but I thought Fedora.
I did.
Fedora, I thought, came out with a terrible game plan. Like, it was hot, so I think he was like, oh, you know what? We're going to try and, like, wear them down with the running game. And it's like, that's not your offense.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go down the field and be vertical. You got Dixon. You got Jay Adams. Like, you got these playmakers on the outside. And I felt like he came out and wanted to, like, establish the run and very conservative, and they ended up getting down. And then it was, like, all downhill from there. So I thought Fedora kind of let him down a little bit with the game plan.
Well, I think it was transparent, and that was the issue. So I'm with you because by the time it was 3rd and long, the Generals were just in Sloter's face, in the backfield, creating the pressure. It was very transparent what, run it on first, we can attack the next 2 downs. And even when he didn't run it on first, he was trying to slide out screen passes, and they were all over that. So, a passing run game in a way. So I'm with you. I thought he was a little loose there, but in the end, I mean, Jersey's up to the 2nd favorite to win it all at plus 275. I think they're starting to impress a lot of bettors alone out there. And Johnson's been the answer. He threw a terrible interception at the end of that game. If you saw it in the red zone, I mean, they were still up 10. The coach ate him alive. But that's what they, I think he can learn off that and live off that. They want to do this, and I think they've adjusted the best so far in this USFL season.
Yeah, they look good. I mean, the offense really looked good. I was a little bit shocked because Riley, the head coach, has a reputation, when he was with Seattle in the XFL and when he was with San Antonio in the AAF, very conservative, like runs the ball a ton, super conservative. And I think we saw that in the first couple of weeks. But I think, having Johnson, I think his mobility in the pocket was huge against, New Orleans' pass rush. I think it's really helped that offense out. And, they're a team that if they have a lead, they can kind of like beat you up. You know what I mean? And I think that they were like 11-2 like 2 weeks ago, like to win it all. So those odds kind of crashed. Yep. Turpin is like a good, like, and they use them like in a lot of like slot gadget guy, like third downs, quick screens, like that sort of stuff. Yeah. So they look really good. They got a game. Who do they play this? They play Houston. Yeah, they play Houston. So.
I thought Jersey has Tampa.
No. Jersey has Houston.
Okay.
That's like the last game. Philadelphia has Tampa today at 1.
That's
the game. Yeah, that's the over we're playing. Yeah. Jersey has Houston. Again, Houston's a team that, defensively, they don't have enough, right? And they're coming off a loss to Pittsburgh. That team's kind of spiraling. So, it'll be interesting to see where that number lands for Jersey. That's definitely a game that I'll be interested in. If I'm playing, I'm probably going to be on the Jersey side.
Yep.
But I don't know. Well, it depends where the number lands, dude. It's right around 7 now. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going on that one. I'm going to have to see. We'll let the market do its thing tomorrow, and we're going to see. But the game to play, the best bet is the over today in the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game. That's what you want to hit today. Get yourself a little extra money in the USFL. And, things have seemed to settle down. The one thing we talked about, Dave, before we get into the PGA is last week I talked about the key numbers and how, like, 3 has not been a key number because kicking's erratic. We have yet to see a game land on 3, right? The total, it looks like the line in the Tampa Bay Philly game today is 3. So I wouldn't be concerned with that, depending on which way you're going on that. Like I said, over is the best play. But even though now that the kicking stabilized, I'm wondering if we're going to see more games land on 3. But we haven't yet. 0 games. Lots of 5s, lots of 6s, lots of 7s, but no 3s. So something to keep an eye on going forward. But let's move on to PGA. Dave, Tiger defies the odds once again.
Hey, yeah, in a way, you could say that. I mean, this is one of the bigger cuts you get in the whole PGA. They do top 70, usually it's top 65. I mean, not a huge difference, but yes, it is somewhat of a defiance of the odds, mainly because of how he finished on Thursday. And then yesterday, having to shoot a number
That's what I
under
mean.
par.
You had the dramatic shift. Like it
Yes.
was like, hey, he ain't making it. Like if you looked at the odds, it's like he ain't gonna be there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then boom, he puts on the red, and then all of a sudden he's rolling.
He is rolling. I mean, it's going to be a big number for him to come back from, down 12 overall. But the
Mhm.
thing about this weekend is it's a totally different golf course for a few reasons. One, weather. You had some 90 degrees, sweat them out the past few days. A cold front came in. It came in a different direction too, where they were playing downwind on 1-2. Now it's all into the wind. So it's a totally shifted wind that they're going to have to play today. A hole one was a birdie hole no matter what. They were bombing it past the bunkers on the left. Today, they can't even reach them, or if they do, they're in it. So it's going to be a different course out there. Then another reason, greens haven't been mowed. They kind of tried to defend the wind because if they mowed it, they weren't going to be able to hold anything yesterday. And they look a little sticky again today, a little bumpy as well. So you might get a mow in between today. But, yeah, you're going to have a different course where things aren't running out as much. And definitely the wind condition. It's going to be tough today, which brings anybody into this game because we've seen it before. It's not going to be a birdie fest. I think some of the leaders might roll back a little bit with the pressure, with the conditions, with the wet, rough. You could see the number after today probably sit around 7 or 8. And then if Tiger can just shoot 3 under or so, he's 6 off the lead. So, yeah, there's a chance, man. I'll say that. He won't get there, but it's fun.
It's fun to watch. But him making the cut, I feel like in that dramatic fashion, is enough. But
It is.
who should bettors be looking out for? In this second half now is today and tomorrow. You got anything popping?
Yeah, and I got some tickets on a few guys like Thomas and Zalatoris. So I'm happy where I'm sitting right now. But I don't know if Zalatoris is going to come through. I would hold off on any line bets on him today, see how the round finishes out. One thing about Will, he's never won before. And not many people make their first win in a major championship. So let's just wait and see. I mean, I love him. We all love him. But it's the putter that I'm going to be concerned about. He had a chance down in Torrey Pines earlier this year where he had to make a 6-footer to win and couldn't, and then lost in a playoff. So this guy, to Luke List that was, but this guy, that putter is his weakness. It's his kryptonite. And when the going gets tough, the first thing that gets a little loose sometimes is the putter. Yeah. So
it's easy to mess them up under pressure.
Yeah, I'm all in on JT. But today, one of the bets I like the most is Abraham Answer over Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson shot 7 under yesterday. This dude's a quirky guy, man. He said at one point he had hit every fairway, so he told his caddy he's going to miss on purpose because he didn't want to be known to hit every fairway in the round. And I don't know what his problem is. He can't hit it straight. He's got to curve it around. And today, if he tries that gimmicky game of curving around and ending up in the rough where it's wet, he's just going to be a mental mess out there. I think Answer is steady as they go. He's down the middle, just going to try and put him on, knock in 2 putts, maybe come out here with 69, be happy. So I like Answer in that matchup. I think Bubba's round is great. He's great sometimes when, it's hot. He can stripe it long and just attack. Today's not an attack day. So I like Answer in that matchup. But yes, Drums, I also like some guys in the futures odds. I think JT's number is still decent at 320. I hate betting anything that much when he's 3 off, but one of the long shots we got to also consider is Cam Smith at 22-1. The guy can just roll it, and win's not a problem for him. So Australian, cold maybe, but guy deep in the rough. I'd look at Cam Smith a little bit at those numbers.
Yeah, 22-1, very, very juicy. So take a little splash.
Yeah,
but JT up there too. So going to be a fun weekend for sure. That's pretty much going to do it for us. Listen, UFC card tonight, got all my picks, for Sharp App members listed in there. Be a part of the team. Download the app. Find out how you can get involved. Get in the Discord and let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fights. They're going to be going on tonight. Lots of money to be made. Can't wait for those. Holly Holm in the main event. So,
kick.
Yeah, leg kick, the leg kick that was heard around the world.
Yeah.
Plus 900, man. So Holly Holm always has a little soft spot in the bettors' hearts because of that plus 900 when she kicked Ronda Rousey's head into the 5th row. So, and a lot of bettors were very, very happy. I think Rousey was like minus 2,000 favorite or something ridiculous. But
yeah.
you know, and listen, I was shocked. I mean, I probably. I don't remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had Rousey in a parlay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't shock me if you look back. And I definitely didn't hit home plus 900. But UFC stuff always popping. Any questions you have, anything, get in the Discord, man. Be a part of the community. Everyone's in there sweating it out, having a ton of fun. So get down with the community at the Sharp app. Download the app, get the Discord, do the whole thing. But we're going to be back next week with more action as we get deeper. And the NBA Finals picture starts to clear up, and we can figure out how we're going to attack that. And plus, baseball, basketball, UFC, USFL, everything popping all throughout the summer. We'll be here every Saturday. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck and cash these bets.